What's up, y'all? So, want to get into this just a little bit, but I won't be too long with it. Everybody knows I can be long-winded, but I found myself, it's on the at the point in time in my life to where, when I cried out to the Lord, I guess is when where He met me at, and I was still wrapped up in my addiction. I think I was like 29 years old, I think it was, and I was sitting in my van. I remember like it was yesterday. I was kind of coming down off, the pills and everything like that. And, I remember crying out to Jesus, and I was listening to the radio, and, I remember what song was on, but it was Christian. It was like Christian kind of alternative music. Might have been like, I don't even know who it was, maybe Cutlass or somebody. Anyways, I remember crying out to the Lord, asking for help, just wanted to be done with the whole situation. I ruined my marriage. I was kind of living in a hotel type deal out of the house, and Crystal was at the house with the kids. At the time, Madison was about to be one, like she was a few months to be 1 year old. Corbin was Corbin was, I don't know, he's only a couple years older than Madison. So anyways, long story short, I found myself, sitting there, kind of coming down off of everything. And then, I wound up doing something and going to jail that night. And while I was sitting in jail, I was angry because I only had a bond for like $100. Couldn't get nobody, couldn't get anybody to bond me out because, I just personally, I ruined all my relationships. I had a no contact order with my wife, and she was my only family. I didn't talk to anybody that had my last name that didn't live in my house. And I found myself sitting in jail alone with nobody. I blamed everybody except for myself. And I went through about 7 days sitting in jail, blaming everybody but myself, and reflecting on everything. So I just kind of sat there. So around about the 7th day after I got my bond revoked for $100, I was angry, and I remember just cussing and just blaming everybody. And they gave me a cell by myself, so I wound up going into the cell. And when I went in there, I looked over at the little table, and I seen a little New Testament Bible and a little Walkman in there. And as soon as I seen it, I started crying, because I knew at that moment in time, the first thing that came to my mind was 7 days ago, I was sitting in the van crying out for help. I didn't want the Lord to help me that way. I didn't want to go to jail. I wanted to do it my way, but you know how that goes. So nevertheless, at that moment in time, I was sitting in there, I picked the Walkman up. And, on the Walkman itself, there's a couple radio stations that you listen to. So it was already tuned in to 91.5 WAPN. So obviously I started listening to that and get back, and I resubmitted my life to Christ. And I just stood on the word and what it said, that, He'd be a father to the fatherless, a husband to the husbandless, and I cried out to Him at that moment in time. And I just knew He gave me a peace that surpasses all understanding. And when He did it at that moment in time, I just decided that then, and I stood on Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. It says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all its righteousness, and then all these things be added unto you." But I always go to verse 34, because verse 34 is what got me through each and every day. And verse 34 says, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." And I think that's a key point that a lot of people miss, because verse 34 gets you through, because you can't worry about tomorrow. You sure enough can't sweat yesterday. You got to live for the Lord today. And while doing that, I've inputted myself more into the Word. I started delving in more surrender. And I used to listen to 91.5 in the mornings, and then in the afternoon around 1 o'clock, I think it is, it's the Daily Rayleigh, which is Apostle Rayleigh at Calvary. And I would listen to it relentlessly every day. That's what got me through the whole time period. I sat in the county for about 6 months, awaiting for which I thought I was going to be going to prison, but the Lord had a different plan for me, because there was no option when I went in there for my charge I got. There was no option for me to do anything. They kept telling me, "Don't worry about going to rehab, don't worry about doing that, worry about staying out of prison," because the first time I caught a charge, I was facing a lot of time, and it was by the grace of God I got out, but my record still haunted me. Therefore, I marked out for no less than 10 years. And, by the grace of God, I didn't see a day in prison. They wound up giving me a bed in rehab, and I went against all odds. But the point of that story was is Daily Rayleigh at WAPN 91.5 is what got me through that situation. And, you know, that's about all I got on that situation.